It's here. The sports are back. Hallelujah. I have something to talk about again. It's been 4 gosh darn months. Good afternoon and welcome to the podcast. I'm Nick Drago. Today on the show, Jamal Adams is on a new team, and you bet this Jets fan's going to gripe about it. We got to talk about Shohei Ohtani and his return to the mound, and it was a return, all right. It was something. And, of course, we're going to talk about the new NHL team in town, the Seattle What's Their Names. Find out on the show, which starts now. Welcome to the Sports Podcast, the only show in town with no decorations? What? Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving to a new studio, aka my wife and I bought a house, and so I will be leaving this lovely apartment where I've been for the last 2 years. Hopefully it looks nice. That's why we see nothing in terms of fun sports paraphernalia. I'm not even wearing a sports shirt today. This is just a University of Hartford hat. By the way, go Hawks. Caw. I hope they actually play this year. Let's get back to the basics, though. I'm Nick Drago, and in case you've never been here before, welcome. We actually talk about sports on this show. I know we really haven't for the past 4 months, because there haven't been any. But we do talk about them, and they're back. Thank goodness. So where have I been the last 2 weeks? I know I haven't been here to entertain you guys, not entertain. I'm here to provide valuable news information. Don't forget that. Actually, this week in particular, the last 2 weeks I've been busy, moving and preparing my house and getting things up to normal, but nothing should change for you. Plus, honestly, there's been nothing to talk about. So sports, let's get to it. I did mention this earlier, but the Seattle Kraken, yes, you heard that right, the Seattle Kraken is the new NHL franchise in town, and wow. I mean, this thing, I love it. I don't know what it is. It's different. It's weird. The logo's really nice. Sorry about that. I just dropped my phone, making noise. I love it. So Seattle's been hurting for an NHL franchise for a long time, and I think as of 2018, we're told they were getting one. The whole expansion bid. The Golden Knights were part of the same thing. It's a little weird, sure, Kraken, but I think it fits. They already have an arena set. They got a nice little deep ocean theme with a bit of a red alert vibe in the accents on the colors. I know it's weird. The Seattle once had a team called the Metropolitans. It was their original pro hockey team. They actually won the Stanley Cup once, 1917. It has been a very long time, though, since they've played in the city of Seattle, so good for them. They're getting a team back. I'm very excited. Speaking of teams on the move, well, not really. The Toronto Blue Jays are no longer allowed to play in Toronto because of COVID-19. So they've been sort of looking around for a new home. Buffalo was very quick to offer, but Buffalo doesn't have a large venue. Not that it matters. There are no fans in the seats. So the Blue Jays basically said, well, thanks but no thanks, Buffalo. I think we're going to play with Pittsburgh in PNC Park, and it would have matched up almost perfectly. Until Governor Wolf here in Pennsylvania, no, actually, I don't think it was Governor Wolf. It may have just been Pittsburgh in general. They essentially, some government somewhere shot the whole darn thing down. So where are the Blue Jays left to play? Back to Buffalo it is. So that's where they'll be during the pandemic. So do we call them the Buffalo Blue Jays? I actually like that. It sort of rolls off the tongue. They're still going to be Toronto. They're still playing right on the border by Canada. Realistically, Toronto and Buffalo are just about 2 hours apart from each other, maybe less. I'd imagine there are some Blue Jays fans up there. Some, maybe not a lot, but hey, Buffalo needs something, okay? They got the Sabres and the Bills. Just give them this. Give them a mediocre baseball team. Justin Verlander, he's out with a forearm strain, and no, he's not done for the season. Hold on a second, let me put on my doctor hat. Yep. Believe it or not, folks, I am a physical therapist by day. That's right, I actually am a doctor. And that should scare you just a little bit. Just kidding. Listen, a forearm strain, yes, it sounds painful. It's uncomfortable. But the reason there's speculation that he could be out for the rest of the season is that we have such a shortened season. Forearm strain usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks to heal. There's a chance he could be pitching much, much sooner than that based on how how strained it is. I don't know the specific muscle because they just didn't release that information. So there's a very good chance he will be back this season. It might be towards the end of the year, maybe as the Astros are pushing for the playoffs. Remember, there's only 60 or so games. But he's going to get an MRI on Saturday. This guy's 37 years old. A little tenderness in the arm. Yeah, it's something to be concerned about. Oh, man. Marlins. Listen, I know the Marlins don't have much to go for this season, but 4 players testing positive for COVID-19. Jose Urena? I'm not really sure. Tested positive, but who else? Jorge Alfaro is already on the injured list. Garrett Cooper and Harold Ramirez. Are those the 4? So instead, Robert Duggar started in Urena's place. And they actually won that game, 11-6. So there you go. Marlins beating up on the poor Phillies. All right, Shohei Ohtani. Oh man, there's such high hopes for this guy. It's one game. He hasn't pitched in like 2 years. It's fine. But he just hasn't really lived up to the hype. I mean, first off, he's a fantastic pitcher and batter. Right? Ended up having to have Tommy John surgery during his first year of pitching and batting, but he was still allowed to bat the rest of the year. Yeah, he did okay. Good enough. Solid player. But return to the round 20 months in, and he did not record a single out. He threw 30 pitches, half of them were balls. Left 2 men on, and a 4-0 gave a 4-0 lead to the who are they playing? Who are the Angels playing this weekend? The A's. 4-point lead for the A's. They did end up losing that game 6-4, but could have been much less. Eduardo Rodriguez confirms that he's dealing with a heart issue stemming from COVID-19. So yet another example of players getting sick. I know we've been talking about this all summer. Baseball, it's going to be really hard to keep your players healthy because you're not putting them in a bubble. The NBA, the NHL, they're bubbling those teams up. By the way, hockey's coming back soon. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm a huge hockey fan. Again, there's usually a Penguins banner behind me. It's not there today. That's okay. August 1st, friends. My hockey fans out there, just bear with me. August 1st is the day. It's coming back soon. All right. What else happened this opening weekend? The Nationals. The Nationals were going to be without Juan Soto. They're a young superstar in the making due to COVID-19. Steven Strasburg also had to be sidelined after he had a nerve issue stemming in the hand. Oh, look at this. Hello. Sorry, my computer just attempted to shut down on me, and then we wouldn't have a podcast, and I don't think we want that. So beyond that, Mets and Braves had an exciting game going to overtime extra innings. So, moving on. All right. Jamal Adams. Oh, God. He wanted to be a Jet. All you had to do was give him the money. It didn't matter if his contract was up next year. Listen, the Jets are trying to create a whole new atmosphere. In the past, hollering and hooting and gripping and griming and all that stuff, that made you a Jet. Because they had nothing else, so you might as well have characters on the team. Jamal Adams really thought they were going to get a deal done here. You know what, though? Thankfully, he didn't get traded to the Cowboys, and he didn't get traded to the Eagles. Well, I would have liked it if he got traded to the Eagles, because I live in Philly. I know a lot of Eagles fans. Actually, every human being I meet in this town is a gosh darn Eagles fan, but that's okay, too. Love it! EAGLES, Eagles, right? All right. Listen, so he ended up going to the Seattle Seahawks. The Jets received Bradley McDougald and 2 first-round picks. That's right, 2 first-round picks, one 2021, one 2022, and then I think a third-round pick on top of that. They do lose a 4th-round pick in the process. You know how it goes. Back, forth, blah, 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 blah. As a McDougald's not your all-star safety like Jamal Adams is, and Jamal Adams might not even line up like a typical safety would in Pete Carroll's system. We'll find out. Definitely a player worth going for. I mean, you look at some of the big name trades over the last few years. Khalil Mack really stands out in my mind. Was a huge benefit for the Bears. I think this really, the Seattle Seahawks are always a great defensive team. I really think they need some offense, but the rich get richer. Right? They're absolutely going to be a playoff team this year. Jamal will get a chance to play in the playoffs, and the Jets will get a chance to rebuild. At the end of the day, yeah, it's typical Jets. We finally have a decent player on our team again, and this happens. You know what I mean? You know what? I shouldn't say finally have a decent player. There's always good players on the team. Le'Veon Bell is supposedly good. He just hasn't shown up for the Jets yet, and he's getting up in age, and we're paying him a lot of money. So let's ignore that. Oh, look, there's paint on my arm. I'm looking at myself in the camera, and I thought that was a smudge on the screen. All right, my podcast listeners are like, "What the hell is he talking about?" I can't see him, folks. You can watch us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, and the Facebook. You can also email me directly, sports3xpodcast@gmail.com. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show, and we're about to be done with the show. All right, NFL players who are caught at high-risk events will face discipline. Who knows what that means, but it's very likely that they will lose out on pay. So, guys, stay at home. The NFL still really hasn't taken a major stance on COVID-19. We don't know, will there be fans in the seats? Is everybody going to play empty? Is there any rules in place here? Are you changing anything for the season? And the answer seems to be a resounding don't know yet, even though training camp is starting really soon. They were talking about not having fans sit in the lower bowls. I don't think they should have fans at all in the arena, but I think they're leaving that up to the teams individually. In the lower bowls, they were talking about blocking off and actually putting advertisements. It's a nice way for the NFL to recoup some money, because it's a lot of money probably for those advertisements. Oh, but guess what? Most other big businesses who could afford that probably don't have money right now either, unless you're an online company like Zoom, or I don't know why Zoom would have a NFL. You know what? Let's move on. We're going to move on. No pay. The Knicks. Oh, I love Knicks news. Actually, the Knicks did something good. Tom Thibodeau is going to be the next head coach of the New York basketball Knicks. And you know what? You're getting a guy who coached a lot of talent in Chicago. During his tenure, he had Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler. He had Trevor Noah. Comedian Trevor Noah playing for the Bulls. He had Joakim Noah. Luol Deng. He had a lot of good players, is the point I'm trying to make here. Oh, and Carlos Boozer. And was able to get them pretty far in the playoffs. They did make the Eastern Conference Finals once. They made the playoffs six years, I want to say, that he was there. And yeah, he had a rougher go of it in Minnesota. I don't really think that was entirely his fault. Karl Anthony Towns hasn't quite turned into the player we've wanted him to be. And Jimmy Butler basically asked to leave Minnesota, so you lose out on like the one guy who could have led your team. The point is that Thibodeau, when surrounded with good players, could be the coach that the Knicks need. He has a history in New York. He was the assistant coach there for a long time. He also has a relationship with new president of basketball operations, Leon Rose. And who knows? Let's see what happens. He has some young talent there. He's got Mitchell Robinson, who could end up being a very good basketball player. We're still sort of on the fence. R.J. Barrett really also is only entering his second season. Usually takes about 4 years or so for these guys to really take off in the NBA. So there's a possibility there too. Plus, it's the Knicks, so they're guaranteed to have a pretty lousy pick. A pretty good pick in this year's draft. So we'll have to wait until the lottery to see what happens there. Oh, man. All right. Speaking of the NBA, season is coming back. Where do we stand on these teams? I want to go through a bunch of them right now. Who I like, who I don't like. Milwaukee Bucks. First off, the East is stronger than it's been the last few years, but still pretty weak. The Greek Freak, man, Giannis, he is leading this team to glory. They have a 101.6 defensive rating, and that is way above anyone else in the league right now. Plus, I think Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, they have some pretty talented players on this team. So I'd like to see the Bucks win it all. They have a lot of tough teams that they could face in the finals to get there. As far as the Eastern Conference, I'm really picking them as the top team right now. The Lakers, of course, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. The Lakers are good. They are very good, and they have some tough teams coming up: Clippers, Raptors, Thunder. Oh, maybe not. Anyway, I like what the Lakers are doing. I'd like to see I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'd like to see the Lakers win. But really, a Clippers-Lakers Western Conference final would be very cool. Toronto's a great team as well. Yes, they lost Kawhi Leonard. They lost Danny Green. I don't see them making as deep of a run, but the top teams in basketball usually make it at least past the first round or two. I wouldn't be surprised if they make the conference finals against the Bucks. They've had a really good season, but the Raptors, to me, maybe they'll get past the first round and then sort of choke off from there. Clippers, I really like what this team is doing. Kawhi Leonard has obviously taken the helm of this group, and I think he's going to lead them very far. I've already kind of said what I'm hoping for is a Clippers-Lakers Eastern Conference Final. Celtics, they're so shaky. Kemba Walker was a great addition in Boston. If anything, I could see the Celtics getting far. I could even see them getting to the finals. They have a great young core of players, including Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They still have Daniel Theus. Who is that? I'm just kidding. They have some good players on their team. I think they're going to do pretty darn well. The Nuggets are up there as well. Jokic. I always mess up his name. Let's just call him Jim. Nikola Jokic he's a great player. I think the Nuggets have some talent there, but they don't really have the playoff experience, which is why I don't think the Nuggets are going to get so far. And I feel the same way about the Jazz. The Jazz actually have, beyond Mike Conley Jr., I think the Jazz have a really good young core of players. In a couple of years, they might even have enough. Maybe if they can entice a superstar, I'd pick them. But to me right now, they don't have enough. Same goes for the Heat. Really, as you go down this list further, the Heat, the Thunder, the Rockets. I mean, at least with the Rockets, you have Russell Westbrook, and you have that other guy, James Harden. You have Westbrook and Harden. The Rockets just sort of had a weird season this year. Maybe those two can really solidify their chemistry and push themselves a little further. But again, the Clippers, the Lakers, they're really strong in the West, and I'm just not seeing that happen. I think the Rockets will get further, or just as far as like the Nuggets or the Jazz will. I don't see them going further than that. The Pacers, Sixers have a good shot. I like the Sixers. They're another one who they've had a weird sort of season. Ben Simmons can't hit a three-pointer for his life. Al Horford's fit in pretty well. Joel Embiid, of course, is injured again, or keeps dealing with injuries, so I'm not really liking their chances, but I think they'll get pretty far. Beyond that, Mavericks, Grizzlies, the Nets, we're not talking about anything magical here. So we're going to leave it there for today. I know lately I've been talking up some of the top moments in sports history, and I did say that we were going to talk about an NHL top moment, but I think it would be better if we leave it for next week for two reasons. One, I am freaking exhausted from this house. House owning is difficult, friends. But two, NHL starts this week. So how much more fitting would it be if we had an NHL playoff moment and NHL playoffs to talk about? Folks, my mind is still blowing right now. We have sports again. This is fan-flippin-tastic. Go sports! All right, friends, that's all the time we have for today. If you like what you heard, find me on SoundCloud, Twitter, YouTube, and the Facebook. Just type in Sports with Nick Drago. That's me. You can also find me on all your favorite podcasting apps. Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on Iheart Radio, Stitcher. We're there. You can find us everywhere. And then, I don't know, anything else? Yeah, shoot me an email, sports3xpodcast@gmail.com. Can't remember if I said that or not. So we're just going to move on. Special thanks, as usual, to Johanna Drago. She is the logo designer, set designer, and she does other things. Amazing things. And she's my wife, and I love her. Also, special thanks to our social media warriors, Mary Kay and Gary Albert. They're boycotting sports this year, so if you're a sports boycotter and you're still listening to the show, email me, sports3xpodcast@gmail.com. I'll even read your email on the air, as long as it's deemed appropriate and not racist in any way, please. Beyond that, though, I think that's all. That's it. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. Oh, the song for the show is a song called Golden Cider Edge by Josh Woodward. A link to his website can be found in the show notes. Don't sue me, Josh. All right, with that, I am going to go to sleep. I lost out on the Knicks head coaching job again. I'm pretty sure I've made that joke like 4 times since I've started this show. All right, friends, have a lovely evening, and I will see you next week when sports are just old hat again. Bye.